Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another edition of High Talks, our High Talks number 6.
Hello.
We are live on our YouTube channel, and we today we have Natalie and Debbie Levitt with us today, so we can talk about experience ecosystems, the impact it has on business, profit, and growth. And yeah, let me thank Debbie to be with us here today to bring us an amazing presentation that she has prepared for this event. And today we also have our beautiful Natalie with us to be the host of this high talk today. So, how are the both of you doing? And are you ready to kick this on?
Yes, very well. So let me say, well, again, as I always say, I am very happy that Debbie is here with us. It was really easy to talk to you, so thank you for your availability to share your knowledge with us. So, presenting Debbie, welcome everyone, and Debbie, João, to today our episode. We will dive into the critical elements that drive business success. Uh, we will talk about, as João say, experience ecosystem, impact on business, success, profit, and growth. Uh, and to guide us through this topic, we will have our expert, Debbie Levitt. So I will try to introduce a little bit of you, but if I said something that it's not okay, you please correct me. So,
I'll be introducing myself, so optional.
okay. So I just want to say to share your book, Customers Know You Suck. I start to read it, and I hope that in this talk you share a little bit about your strategies, your experience. So, well, let's begin. I am very excited, and thank again, Debbie, for being with us. And well, João didn't have time to say because I jumped in right away, but for the audience, for those of you who are with us, if you have any questions, please leave them on the YouTube channel that
On the
Debbie will for sure answer them at the end of
yeah.
this talk.
Yeah, you can all drop your questions on the live chat. We will answer them at the end of this event, and this will be on demand after this live event. So if you have any type of questions, you can drop them on the comment section of this video, and me, Natalie, or Debbie, whenever we see it, we will answer them right away. So yeah, let's start this.
Yeah, that's it. Go
Great.
ahead.
Yeah, thanks to everybody for inviting me and working this out. Hello to everybody watching live or watching later. Thanks for giving me some of your time. João, can you please put my slides on the screen?
Sure. Here
Yeah,
they
let's jump right. Wonderful. Those look familiar. Okay. So, and as they mentioned, I'm going to be answering your questions at the end. So my slides run about 40 minutes, and then I'll be taking your questions or reacting to your comments. So feel free to leave anything you're thinking in the live chat in whatever language you prefer, and we'll figure it out. Um,
are.
so, welcome to your ecosystem, your experience ecosystem, impact business, success, profit, and growth. I'm Debbie Levitt. I've been a CX and UX strategist, designer, and researcher for over 20 years. My company is called Delta CX. We are a full service CX and UX agency and consultancy. In addition to doing projects, we consult with companies to help them improve their UX teams and practices and the relationships between other departments and UX. And we also go into companies as change agents to try to figure out what's not working, improve processes and teams, and help companies be more customer centric. And that's why clients call me Mary Poppins, because I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away to whoever needs me next. Please note today that I say CX and UX pretty much interchangeably. So if I say CX, I mean CX and UX. If I say UX, I mean CX and UX. And we'll talk a little bit about that today because I don't want to die on the hill, as we say, of who's a user, who's a customer, who's a human. These are all people that we need. They're in our ecosystem. And you'll also see that I have a little camera icon that comes up. This is just for people who love to screenshot slides. You'll know when my slides are done animating when you see the camera. So, as I was saying, I like to call everybody who does business with us a customer. That means the purchaser is a customer, the end user is a customer. If we only pay attention to or care about the people who pay us, we're missing important people. The end user is part of the ecosystem. There's only so far we'll get when we're not meeting or exceeding their needs. End users might be asked to evaluate a system. They might be asked their opinion of the system while they're using it. Maybe when it's time to renew a contract or a relationship, the end user is asked, should we keep this system? And they might talk to colleagues and other companies about the system's things they use and what they like and don't like about the system. So we can't leave out the end user. And remember that people using your system might give feedback to the people who selected it or purchased it. They might complain that your system isn't modern, it doesn't do what they need it to do. It was hard to learn, even with training, and difficult to use. Whether or not they admit this or report this, they might be making mistakes, which could be quite serious based on what your system does. So, creating a better, easier, and more intuitive system for the end user helps and feeds everybody in the ecosystem. Ultimately, everybody who does business with our company is a customer one way or another. So, during this presentation, I might say customers more than I say users, but I mean everybody. The system has to be 5 stars out of 5 and great for everybody in your ecosystem. Inside our company, we all want the same three things. First, we want customer attraction and adoption. If we can't win new customers, we might not have what I like to call PSE market fit. You might have heard product market fit, but not everything's a product. Sometimes it's products, services, and experiences. So I call that PSE. It's everything that we sell or offer. Second, we want customer satisfaction. If they're unhappy or complaining, we're doing a lot wrong. If we're getting bad scores on surveys, bad ratings, angry tweets, a lot of customer support tickets, we're getting stuff wrong. And customer satisfaction is about a lot more than did people get a nice customer support representative who will fix the problem? Customer satisfaction starts with us understanding how we cause problems for our customers so we can truly fix the root causes. And third, we want customer loyalty and retention. If we win them, but they don't stay, we're in trouble. Are they choosing a competitor? Are they downgrading or purchasing less often? If we can't keep people, anything we did to try to get them to sign on, rate us higher, or claim they'll recommend us won't matter. Any wacky thing that we did to try to get them to do more, any wacky thing we did to try to get them to do more of what we want won't matter. And we've been hearing for years, if not decades, that roughly 90% of startups and new businesses fail. And for years, if not decades, startups and new businesses have been mostly following the same books and methods. How we approach finding the market fit for our PSE. That stayed the same for many years. So it shouldn't surprise us that our failure rate has stayed mostly the same for many years, if not gone up. We hear about similar failure rates for experiments, A B tests, and new product launches from established companies. We've become very good at failing. We dared to fail. We failed fast. We moved fast and failed. And we failed some more. I think most teams forgot how to succeed. And without this success, we won't have the profit or growth the business wants. We won't have satisfied or delighted customers. Ron Kohavi appeared on Lenny's podcast and said that A B test failure rates were 92% for Airbnb, 66% for Microsoft, and 50% for Amazon. The bottom of this image says, it's not about having better PMs or working at a better company. It's the nature of product development. But this sounds like, please don't blame us. It's the process. But the process is good, so don't try to change it. Ron also posted to LinkedIn in October 2023 about his time as a VP at Airbnb. Quote, we tried hard to evaluate in A B tests only things we believed had a relatively high probability of being successful. End quote. Despite this attempt to only test what the team was highly confident about, only 8% of tests were successful. This should sound alarms. Consider the process that leads to an A B test. We know that A, the product we released, isn't that great? It's badly broken, half baked, or has serious room for improvement. We know it's not 5 stars out of 5 in quality for our customers. When an A B test fails, it's a clear sign that we're not working from good evidence or data. We understand our customers so little that what we hypothesized would be an improvement was a measurable downgrade. We burned time and money by releasing or experimenting with something that performed worse than what we already had. We're cooking up what I call the guessing lasagna. We have opinions, guesses, and assumptions about customers. We layer on guesses about what they do or don't do and why they do or don't take certain actions. We assume guessing will be faster than the qualitative research that would answer our team's open questions. Our next layer of guesses is the solutions we hope will make customers happier, achieve business goals, or on a good day, both. The more guesses we layer on, the more likely it is that one or more of these are incorrect, leading to sometimes foreseeable and avoidable failures. We should consider changing the process if we are experiencing this much failure. A 0% failure rate is impossible, but every company and team should want to minimize failures, risks, and consequences. Remember that today we're here to talk about things that positively and negatively impact business success, profit, and growth. Everything that positively and negatively impacts our experience ecosystem will have a positive or negative impact on the business. As I talk about different techniques, approaches, and paths that you might take, keep asking yourself, how do these impact everybody in our experience ecosystem? And then consider the possible outcomes. Business successes and failures are late indicators of customer successes and failures. Today, we'll challenge a lot of what is currently thought of as the best ways to create products, innovations, and successes. And after today, we will have to have tough conversations with our teams when we're taking paths away from company values, away from good strategy, away from what would delight our experience ecosystem, and away from achieving business goals efficiently. Apologies for the giant X on the screen. For those of you looking at the screen, I just realized I'm on our travel computer and I didn't update Font Awesome. So there's X's here where there should be super cool icons. So please excuse me that some of my icons are missing, but it's not going to change the points I'm making. So there are two paths, two main paths to success and the growth that our company desires, if not requires. The first path would be creating products, services, and experiences that meet or exceed the needs and expectations of our target audiences. Your customers need something from you, and they might be waiting for you to create it. These are unmet needs that you can fill. The second path would be innovation, where you're creating products, services, and experiences that your target audiences didn't even know that they had or needed. These are also unmet needs that you can fill. What these both have in common is that it's mandatory that we understand our target audience's needs, tasks, behaviors, and expectations. The less we understand these, the more we're guessing and assuming. And the more we work from guesses and assumptions, the more we are slowly crawling towards a solution that we hope doesn't fail. Another thing these paths have in common is that they require you to solve customers' problems well. It's not enough to be a feature factory and keep releasing something. We must strategically approach how we're going to create the best solution for well understood customer problems and unmet needs. There are other paths like bullying customers, giving them crap they don't like, and not caring whether they're successful or furious. We could release low quality crap because we want to be fast. There are plenty of paths, but the two on the screen are your main paths to short and long term success. This means that we could catch ourselves early when we're on a path that is unlikely to end with success for customers or for our business. We can catch ourselves making common excuses when we don't want to invest in the time and effort it takes to be successful. We think it's better to just be fast, so we say things like fail fast and users will have to figure it out. We announce that we'll just ship it now and fix it sometime in the future. We don't care what it costs to fix things later. We don't mind knowingly releasing poor quality or garbage to our customers. We hold meetings and workshops to try to figure out how do we make people do what we want them to do. We don't seem to care what they were trying to do, and in many cases, we don't even understand their tasks or behaviors. Someone decided it would just be faster to start with guesses and assumptions and hope there's some value for users. We don't constantly check for PSE market fit. We hope that customers find some sort of use for the thing we wanted to build. Would customers see this as high quality or value? Why aren't we having that conversation? Right now, it's really hot to say just start with a hypothesis and validate your hypothesis. But let's talk about why that is not going to be the best path. You might call it hypothesis driven development or a culture of experimentation. Maybe it's product first or product led. Maybe it's the lean startup approach. It comes under many names and it's credited to different people, but it often takes the same form. Start with an idea. That's the beginning. This is our hypothesis. We believe our idea is good, and we'll learn if it's good by creating and testing an experiment. The image on the screen is from Cohen's hypothesis driven development, and it shows a process with roughly six steps. 1. Idea. 2. Hypothesis. 3. Experimental design. 4. Experimentation. 5. Inference. 6. Pilot or persevere. Pivot, not pilot, pivot or persevere. Pivoting sends you back to cycle around again. The scientific method is different. It's often shown as having 5 core steps or phases. 1. Research and observe. 2. Form a question or problem statement based on your research. 3. Create a hypothesis, an idea or potential solution for this question or problem. 4. Design and run an experiment that would show where your hypothesis worked well or didn't work well. And 5. Draw conclusions, report results, and decide what to do next. New variations of the scientific method remove most of the science. So many books, experts, and trainers call for good, early, qualitative research to really understand people, contexts, and systems. What does our target audience do now? What are they trying to do? How? Why? Where does it go well? Where is there room for improvement? Where are there opportunities to improve or create products or services that solve the real problems we observed? Yet, so many methods rely on skipping all of that. Someone thinks we'll just be faster if we start with an idea and just keep testing and iterating until it seems to be good enough. If it's not good enough for everybody in our experience ecosystem, it's not good enough. We should spend more time on it now to reduce risks, waste, and failure. In models like the lean startup and design thinking, one of the most dangerous assumptions is that even if our idea isn't correct, it's close. Models tell us that if the experiment fails, keep iterating and experimenting. But there is an unspoken assumption here. Your idea was close, so try a variation of it. This is where we start seeing teams slightly moving buttons or other elements, changing bits of text on the page, removing options from the page to push users to take the company's desired action, or adding how to's and instructions, hoping they can just train people to do things how the company wants customers to do things. But think about famous product and service failures. Were they one iteration away from success? 5 iterations away from success? If only they had just iterated a few more sprints, would they have been successes? When we think about companies who had to pivot or go out of business, they probably weren't just a few iterations or experiment cycles away from the right solution. So we have our idea. Is it an opinion, guess, or assumption? Does it have research as a strong foundation? We want to experiment on our idea, but what will we measure to know if our experiment is a success? Are we only measuring business success, things that our company wants to see happen? Will we measure success from the user's perspectives? A higher conversion rate or more people logging in might feel like a success, but since neither of those goals are things your customer is trying to do, we shouldn't imagine that we're measuring success from customers' perspective. The logging in is just the start, and the customers aren't thinking, I hope I convert today. And let's say that our experiment shows small or large failures. Do we rush to cycle around again with a variation? Do we understand why we failed? We were probably pretty confident in what we ran as an experiment. Do we know our users so little that something we were confident would work ended up a failure? And what did we learn other than that particular idea didn't work? Did we learn exactly why it didn't work? Do we have more insight into our target audiences or the root causes of their problems? Do we better understand their needs? Be careful of models that say the best method is fast cycles of experimentation. We're often running experiments we shouldn't. We are wasting time and money, we're increasing our risk, and sometimes we're not learning much at all. Let's talk about human centered design. This is the main process that UX practitioners of all types use. You might also see it called UCD, user centered design. It's got multiple phases, including research, content strategy, information architecture, interaction design, testing, visual design, and monitoring experiences once our product is released. Each phase that you see on the screen has multiple tasks that can be done. So, CX and UX professionals must approach this process strategically, deciding which tasks are needed, how long those will take, in what order we'll do them, and what resources are required. Order matters here because each phase is informed by phases that came before. Our research informs everything we do later. Information architecture informs interaction design. I've made this look linear, but in fact, it's fluid and often cyclical. For example, testing our interaction design concepts often leads to iteration. This means another round of information architecture and interaction design work. We should test again before we can call this completed. Our work spirals its way to the best design solution. Learn, build, and test are an oversimplification considering all of the steps it takes any of us to learn, build, and test. But learning, building, and testing and improving are baked into the human centered design process. You can also see how models that start with build, as in build, test, learn, are missing a lot of early learning we should do if we care about building the right things for our target audiences. So, again, matching up the human centered design to the scientific method, step one of the scientific method is research and observe. That matches what should be our discovery phase. We are solution agnostic. We don't have a particular solution in mind yet. We don't have an idea or a hypothesis. We're not researching our idea. Who likes it? Who wants it? Or what would they pay for it? We just want to learn about people, contexts, and systems. It's the learn, build, test. Research leads us to better understand tasks, problems, and perspectives. This allows us to write problem statements from the perspectives of our target audiences. This is scientific method step two, where we create a problem statement or frame a question. Step three of the scientific method is our hypothesis. This is the idea or potential solution that would answer the question or solve the problem. These cycles of solution exploration and design are the build in learn, build, test. Step 4 of the scientific method is to design and run our experiment. Evaluative research evaluates an idea, concept, design, prototype, or live product or service. It's called evaluative because we are evaluating if we solved the problem well. This can be evaluative and usability research on a UX prototype. We don't have to spend days or sprints coding something real just to know if we're going in the right direction. You'll get better information from a more realistic UX prototype, which is why I recommend a tool like Axure over tools like Figma. And step 5 of the scientific method examines our testing data, draws conclusions, and makes decisions about what to do next. Steps 4 and 5 of the scientific method match the test in Learn, Build, Test. Visualizing our high level process in this way helps us see that building before learning doesn't match the scientific method. Evaluative testing of your idea or hypothesis isn't really discovery research and doesn't match the scientific method. Anything that doesn't match the scientific method or waters it down significantly introduces risk and waste. We don't stop and seriously consider how inefficient our teams can be when we're working from guesses. We can build what a co founder or stakeholder tells us to build, but if this isn't based in great target audience intelligence, the risks are high. We could be far from agile, far from lean, and far from customer centric when we have to make changes, redo things, or in really bad cases, roll back to an old version. How can we know what our target audiences need and what their workflows look like? You might want to use surveys or quick coffee shop interviews to learn what customers want. But this is an early step that can go wrong and send you in wrong directions. Surveys are often flawed, asking people to guess if they would like an idea they haven't seen or predict something they may or may not buy in the future. This isn't good evidence. Strategies and decisions should be based on good evidence and data. Our ability to be customer centric will only be as good as our evidence, data, and knowledge on our target audiences and their journeys, tasks, workflows, and experiences. Our knowledge of target audiences and their tasks will only be as good as the research we've done. And the research we've done will only be as good as the planning, methods, recruiting, sessions, moderator skills, questions, tasks for participants, analysis, synthesis, and reporting. If any of these have been done poorly or were manipulated by accident or on purpose, then we're setting up strategies and decisions for possible failure. That's the difference between anything we could say is evidence and the good evidence we should be using. Survey results are evidence, but results from a bad or manipulated survey shouldn't meet our standards for evidence and data we'll rely on to inform and guide strategies, decisions, and the direction of our products and services. We want to be data informed or data driven, but we shouldn't be informed or driven by bad data. A common research problem happens when non researchers try to do research themselves. People think research is easy. Oh, it's just talking to people. Talking to people is easy. I like to talk to people, so I can do research myself. The research a non researcher will do is often quite different from what a professional, qualified, or career researcher will do. And sadly, a lot of articles trying to tell you how to do research were written by non researchers. I'm shocked how many people who have not had jobs or careers in research are telling you and other people how to do research, when to do research, what questions to ask. I saw an article on Medium saying better questions to ask during research. The questions were still bad. The author was an engineer. There's even famous books about product management and product strategy confidently telling you how to do research. And when you look up these authors on LinkedIn, they've never been a researcher. Ah, more critical thinking, everybody. And ultimately, research technique matters because if we are making mistakes during research, like, hey, let's just talk to three white guys and find out what they want, we are making mistakes. The wrong questions mean mistakes. The wrong people who we ask could mean mistakes. Not enough people, not the right people. Maybe we expected customers to understand or solve their problems better than they could. And so we have to remember that a lot of the advice that's out there now is just based on speed. Just talk to a few people per week and then do whatever they say. But that's not necessarily a good way to go, and it's not a strategic way to go, and it's not what we do as CX and UX researchers. We want to make sure we're meeting a good mix of people. We want to make sure we're meeting different ages, genders, people from marginalized groups, people with disabilities, diagnoses, and conditions. And in many studies, we get better information from people who aren't our customers than from people who are. The people who are our customers are used to our systems, and we can get a fresher perspective by meeting target audiences who aren't our customers. And remember, we might think, oh, it's faster if a product manager just talks to three people this week. Okay, but if the research really needs 30 people, a lot of the studies I do are with around 30 people. If we really need to meet 30 people to have a good rainbow of experiences and people, it's going to take the project product manager most of the year to meet 30 people if they're meeting three per week. But if I share my work, sorry for the phone ringing at my friend's house. If I share my work with another researcher, we could do 30 research sessions possibly in a week. So, in the time that a product manager is going to ask probably not great questions to three people, we can do good research with good rigor, good technique. Ultimately, working with qualified researchers is faster and cheaper than having non researchers guess at this work. I've got a few more slides and then we'll take your questions and comments. So let's talk a little bit about strategies and planning. So we need an actionable process for how things will get done, both strategically and tactically. I haven't invented anything. This is just my take on human centered design, plus the scientific method, plus critical thinking, and plus solid business, product, and service strategy. There are plenty of authors trying to sell you on product first. Product is the output. Product can't be first. It's technically last. It's the output of our process. So I like to jokingly call this process product last, but it probably needs a better name. And it's got four key phases: understanding, writing and prioritizing problem statements, strategy and planning, and potential solutions. So, phase one isn't the hypothesis that I think users would want this or we'll increase conversion rates if we try this. It's not, does anybody like my idea? Or can I validate that something is the way I think it is? It's not, can we find 10 people who have the problem I think they have? Phase one should not have any tails wagging dogs. And it's not hypothesis first or idea first. We're going to do the scientific method in order. Phase one is about understanding what's going on here: context, human experiences, technology. What are people trying to do? How do they do it now? What's working well? Where's there room for improvement? Tasks, habits, needs, and real problems. We'll learn these through observation primarily and conversations and interviews secondarily. We're unlikely to learn this through a survey or by asking people what they need or what we're missing. Sometimes people don't understand their own problem or know how to best solve it. In phase two, researchers write up problem statements, among other artifacts and documents. Real problem statements based on real current customers and target audiences, not something we invented, hoped, or tried to reverse engineer. We know where people have frustration, confusion, disappointment, distraction, inefficiency, anger, a knowledge gap, and dead ends. We can tell the difference between symptoms or consequences and the root causes underneath them. So instead of which feature should we do first, we prioritize problem statements. Which problems should we handle first? Why? This is a cross functional team discussion and decision. This isn't owned or controlled by one role. Prioritization is normally determined based on three factors: business value, target audience value, and tech or engineering. Typically, a representative from each of these scores problem statements for how high a priority each problem is. These scores combine to give a final score, though discussions might cause something else to rise to the top or sink lower. For phase three, given what we now know about people, contexts, systems, tasks, and problem statements, and knowing that the business expects to generate revenue and achieve other results, what's our strategy? What's our carefully crafted plan to make all of this happen? How will we make all of this happen efficiently with the least risk and the least waste? Our strategic path to business success requires us to take people in our experience ecosystem on a path to success. We need an overarching CX strategy. Some would say we need a product strategy, but what if the answers aren't product? What if they're services, experiences, human interaction, physical products, or something else? Not everything is best solved with a digital product or an app. CX and UX teams and workers should now, in our process, be able to estimate their work and create a plan or a roadmap. Given the problems we plan to solve, how much time will they need to do their work well? Do they need more headcount? What about tools or other resources? This is where we budget for what it's going to take to do more of the human centered design process well. We need to plan research, content, design, and other tasks. It's the work one or more people will do to come up with ideas, solutions, hypotheses, designs, prototypes, and more. It is a bit early for engineers to estimate. We don't have any idea yet what the solutions or designs will be. Engineers will need to estimate and plan later, once our solutions are becoming more concrete. We still don't have a solution or design at this point in our process. That's phase four, where we start considering solutions for the problem statements we prioritized. We were solution agnostic until we had enough evidence, data, and knowledge to consider what would best solve our experience ecosystems problems and deliver value and quality. Note that solutions and features aren't the same thing. A potential solution is something we believe will satisfy our balanced user and business goals. There are multiple possible solutions. The solution we eventually select as the best will be broken into features. These potential solutions can be modeled and tested. That's part of human centered design, and it's done by our CX and UX professionals. We don't test for, do they like it? Or how do they feel about it? Or how often will they use it? Or what will they pay for it? We test for, does it solve the original problem statement? Does it solve it well? Did it create new problems? Does our solution match our ethics and values, or are we doing something sneaky, ugly, illegal, or unethical? Is this the right execution of the right idea, or do we need to go with a different execution or completely different idea or solution? And where is there room for improvement? Once our designs and prototypes are tested and professional researchers have verified good usability and that the execution and idea solve real user problems, now we have a product. It's at the end of a product development cycle, or more accurately, R&D, research and development, or research and design process. During this phase, CX and UX will collaborate closely with engineers to make sure that potential solutions and designs are technologically feasible. Engineers should not be surprised later by what designers are working on. This collaboration allows engineering to start planning and estimating their work. So let's wrap up. Will we be a product led, engineering led, or sales led organization? Will we be values led, as in led by our company values? I say no. We will be value led. How much value can we frequently create for potential and current customers? Some people say, wouldn't that be a product led organization? Being product led is supposed to be about attracting and retaining customers through high value products, services, and experiences. But some product led companies decide on features based on guesses, assumptions, or things they want to push people to do. That might be product led, but it wouldn't qualify as value led. We might say we are a sales led organization, but ultimately we're selling products, services, and experiences, which must be an excellent fit for the market. Sales will struggle with turning trial customers into paid, turning leads into conversions, and retaining and growing existing customers when we deliver low value or low quality and fail to meet target audiences standards. All roads lead back to quality and value as perceived and judged by customers. So, a couple of resources. People can always go back to the video and pause this screen. There's some links here. You can't click on them on YouTube, but you can type them into your browser and you can find how to follow my YouTube channels, join my Patreon at free or paid levels, read my Medium articles, and of course, if people need some coaching, I'm available. And I hope people will also check out my Customers Know You Suck book and get in touch at deltacx.com if you think there's anything that I can do for your team or company. And so thanks, High Talks people. Do we have any comments or questions?
Hey, Debbie. Thanks for the presentation. I think it was really insightful for the ones at home watching you.
Thank you.
And let me just say that the links that you put on the slide before that, we can put them on the description of this video as well, so people can check them. Uh,
Great.
and yeah, I
Thank you.
think Natalie now has some questions for you. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes.
or people in the audience, let's hear it. You're
Yeah,
welcome to disagree, challenge me, ask me something tough. Go for it, everybody.
yeah. Now it's time for the questions.
Okay, so Debbie, thanks for all of your presentation. Well, as João said, we learned a lot. Um, I want to start to, well, here at High Interactive, we have a lot of projects that are business to business services or platforms. For those who are assisting this or are going to view this talk, how can we translate these approaches, these human-centered approaches, these learn, build, and test to those kinds of businesses?
Yeah, absolutely the same. It's really the same process. So, whether you have consumers as your audience or you have an enterprise software system or business to business, these are still your customers. We are going to do better if we learn what they need before we try building for them. Very often, projects come into probably companies like yours where someone says, we know what we need, just make this for these people. And it's an internal tool, they'll have to use it no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's not pretend there's empathy. There's no hashtag empathy there. So what?
I was that you are going in the direction that I was thinking about. So go ahead.
Yeah, we certainly can't pretend to have empathy for people we didn't bother to understand. And especially where it's B2B and enterprise software, typically what's most important for people might not even be price or some of these other things, but the end users usually want to be efficient and they want to make less mistakes
Yeah.
because their job revolves around how they use this system. And when we don't have good UX, when we don't have good usability, when we haven't created the right solution, we find that people are slow. We find that people make mistakes. And then who are they angry at? They're angry at your company because they're saying, why did you build this garbage? People hate your new tool or feature. And you say, we built what you said. And that's where I would always hope that this kind of company will have guts or something else to speak up and say, look, you're telling us you want us to make this, but let's take a step back. What are people doing when they're going to use this? So to me, the process is the same. We should still step back and take a look at who are these users. What is their task? What are they trying to get done? What's important to them? Speed, um, maybe there's a certain number of them they have to do each day. Maybe they are judged on accuracy, so you don't want them to make mistakes. And then, if you really want to get into it, you have to understand their knowledge. How much do they understand about what they're doing? Sometimes you can't just throw screens and spreadsheets and things at people and say, yeah, they'll figure it out. You have to say, wait a minute, this group really doesn't understand this stuff. So, how do we build something that is so easy they don't feel like they have to go to school to use it? So, there's a slide I took out of this presentation to make it shorter, but it's a slide reminding people that you're probably going in the wrong direction once you start making excuses. When you hear the excuses of, we'll just have to train them, or we'll fix it later, these are all excuses. Catch yourself making these excuses and say, wait a minute, can't we do better now?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Debbie. And well, this is led me to another question that is related. We have, and I'm sure you as well, a lot of clients that come to us with an already closed idea. Like, I want you, and you talk about a lot of about that on your presentation. We have this idea that we want to apply in our service, in our platform, for our employers or for our clients, doesn't matter. How do you approach your client to help them to understand that if we apply this method, like we need to learn, build, and test, and probably we will discover other things that you need to work on to come up with a very good solution that will make your customers or your employers happier and more dedicated to what they need to do, and this will lead to a growth on your business or a growth on your revenues and etc.
I'm going to give you an answer that might surprise you. So, I find that there are generally two types of projects. One project is do what I say and don't talk back. We want this done. We've decided on the idea, we've
Mhm.
decided on the thing. We just want your company to make it. And then the other type of project might say, "Hey, we want this thing," but they're open to how could this be better? These are often different types of projects and two different types of clients, and they're usually not the same person. It's very hard to convince the person who says, no, I want a giant 1 liter plastic bottle, just make it, shut up. And that is where your company has to decide, what kind of company are we? Are we a company that takes jobs where we are not supposed to talk back, where we're not supposed to say,
Mhm.
wait a minute, we're not sure this is the right thing to build for your users? Sometimes a company will say, look, we want the client, we want the money, we're going to take this project, and everyone shut up and do it. And in that case, you have to give yourself permission to do the best you can in, may I say, a shitty situation. you know
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't make that client believe in a better way. So what I typically do in the rare times when I get those clients, because they usually don't come to me if they don't want to hear from me, but usually I say, look, if you're going to tell us exactly what to build, and we're just your pair of UX design hands, and you don't want much or any research, I'm just going to write into our contract that we're not responsible for the outcomes.
Mhm.
Because if we're building your idea, then the success or failure of your idea is yours.
Right.
And so, and usually that they have a moment where they're deciding whether or not they want that responsibility because they were hoping to blame you when this didn't work. And they have a moment where they're like, and some of them will go, yeah, that's fine. This is my idea and I'm very confident in it. It's going to work. It's a good idea. And we go, great. We're just going to write in our contract that if this ends up being bad for users, something users don't like, you get a lot of complaints, this has to be fixed later, that you understand that we're going to charge you for that because we weren't able to suggest that you build something different. And sometimes people go, yeah, that's fine. I think this is a great idea. It's going to work great. Super. I put it in my contract because I know that sometimes I have clients who think I'm going to somehow make a bad idea work better than it has the power to work. There's only so good you can make a bad idea. And I tell them that. I say, look, if this isn't a good idea, there's only so good I can make it. And so for the clients who say, oh, yeah, go ahead, do research, do the design, do the whatever, then we put in our contract, we take responsibility for how this ends up working because you allowed us to go through the process. And that means, sometimes I say that means we're going to give you a free round of revisions if we learn after it goes out that it needs one round of fixes. After that, we charge for the fixes. And so obviously we're talking more about agency work than about traditional corporate work. But so sorry to everybody who doesn't work in an agency or consultancy. But I find that when I say to clients, like, if you really aren't going to let us do the research and you just want us to do the design, then just heads up, we're not going to be responsible for it. And if this fails, we're not going to let you blame us for the failure of your own idea. And sometimes they'll say, well, can't you use best practices and make it better? And I'll say, well, the best practices would mean doing research first. And after designing, doing some testing. Will you allow us to add that time and money to the budget? And sometimes they say, I don't know. Give me a proposal. Good. The door is open. Give them a proposal. And sometimes they say, no, 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 I just need this done fast. Then we say, okay, we'll do it fast. But if it fails, it's your failure. We're just the pair of hands making the thing you said. So I know that might not be the answer you expected, but I
No,
find I
it's a
find that
very good advice.
what?
It's a very good advice. Well,
Yeah.
we are not in our approach. We always try to adapt what we are doing or with what our client needs or uh, let us do. So,
Right, exactly. And that's why I think that that's the conversation you have to have. And so typically, I will turn down projects where I can tell that this is a deep and complex project. And if I build it the way they say it, it's probably not going to go well. And they're going to think later on that our company is bad. And sometimes I will say this to people. I will say, look, this is a big and complex project. I'm concerned. What if you don't have the best idea or the right idea? You're going to think later that we were bad. We were incompetent. You're going to ask, why did I spend all this money with these people only to have something that didn't work out? I don't want you to resent us. I want you to love us and tell everybody to hire us. Is there any opportunity to be more of a partner to you and to take a deeper look at to make sure that this is the right way to go? Because I don't want you to later resent and regret that you did this. And that usually is so weird for someone to hear that it makes them think a little bit. You still can't always convince them, but sometimes they're like, wow, this person's thinking about not doing business with me, and they're imagining that later I'm going to be mad at them for a bad outcome. Maybe I should think about this. And sometimes they don't think about it and they think, no, my idea is perfect. We go, great. I'll just write in the contract that if this is broken, you can pay us to fix it. Or, you'll probably go to some other company and ask them to fix it and you'll just do it again. We're not your first company. And if you're not going to let us be more of a strategic partner, we might not be your last company.
thanks, Debbie, for that answer.
Sure.
João, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for another one.
Okay. Okay. Well, you talked about the benefits of the process, and you talked a little bit about how we measure the success, that we can use metrics that are not showing very well the real success that we could have with the solution or with the hypothesis that we are doing. From your experience, how should we, well, and if you need, please give an example. If you think it's easier, how should we measure the success of an experience of an ecosystem to show the impact of the investment that company are doing?
Yeah, so that's going to be different for every project. There isn't one thing that you always measure because it always works. It's going to be different. But to me, you have to measure both the things the company is looking for. So any measures that they see as successful, whether that's we say vanity things like more people are logging in. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean people are happy, but sometimes they think that's success. More conversions, things like that. But then these are not success from the user's perspective. More time in the system does not mean the user has success. Sometimes more time means this is hard to use and they're making mistakes. So I like to make sure that we're measuring things that the user or customer would see as success. And in order to do that, you usually have to be familiar with their task. What are they trying to get done? So, things that are related to task success and task completion, but also I remind people to combine those types of metrics with checking on error messages, checking on mistakes, checking on problems. Because if people are faster or getting more tasks done, but they're making more mistakes or having more problems or seeing more error messages, this probably ultimately wasn't great. And so don't just look at task completion time or something alone in the vacuum of space. Make sure you're looking at it with other things that are important to the user or customer as a measurement of success, which might be something like reduced number of errors, reduced having to redo their work, reduced complaints to customer support.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything that shows, sure, the business has things they're going to measure. We can't tell them not to, usually, but check the things that are important to the customers where the customer would say, aha, I know this system is making my work or my life or my experience better because I was able to do this. And it could be anything. Like, I think about a company I've been fighting with now for 5 months. If someone stopped and counted the number of customer support messages we've had, the number is probably 100 at this point. That is a measure of failure. But when I think about companies where I've had very good support experiences, maybe I wrote to them, they wrote to me, I wrote to them, they wrote to me. Maybe it's 5. And so maybe we learned that customers tend to be happy and tend to have even a bad problem fixed when there's fewer back and forth. And that, so even where we have to fix a problem, there's ways that we can measure that we fix the problem better than we did in the past. But to me, the best fixed problem is the problem that never happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, João,
Yeah, I
uh,
think
go
I think that that is it for our iTalks today. We are on an hour and 5 minutes into this
Sorry.
to
No,
this iTalks. And but no, you don't need to be sorry, Debbie. It was really insightful the presentation.
the
Now,
topic was good.
Thank
yeah, the
you.
talk was really really good. So yeah, for the ones at home that may have questions watching this on demand, be sure to drop them on the comment section of this video. We will be back with more high talks and with more master classes next month. Stay tuned for that. Also, this month we will have on next, not this Thursday, the other Thursday on the 30th, I guess. That we will have our high master class. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to High Interactive social media, where we will get you to know everything we are doing here on our YouTube channel. And yeah, with that said, thanks Debbie for coming up. Thanks Natalie for hosting this
Thank
masterclass.
you, Debbie.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
everybody.
yeah, thanks everyone that almost stood by till the end. And yeah, see you around. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye.